Hello, this is Mrs. Skeen. Today we are going to do ratios, lesson 4. The next few lessons are going to be broke up. You can see this one says tape diagrams part. We're going to do tape diagrams whole and tape diagrams difference. So you'll kind of notice that the next 4 lessons look similar, but there's definitely some differences. So our learning target is I can use multiple representations to solve real-world ratio and rate problems. All right, so like we talked about on the first slide, we are going to be solving ratio problems when given the part, and this will make more sense as we go here in a minute. So the school band bought cheese and pepperoni pizzas. For every 3 cheese pizzas, there were 2 pepperoni pizzas. If there was a total of 24 cheese pizzas bought, how many pepperoni pizzas were bought? Create a tape diagram to solve the problem. So as we're looking at this, the very first thing we need to do is we need to set up our tape diagram. So our tape diagram is drawn based on the ratio that they give us. So we know for every, right, it's going to signify we're going to have a ratio. So for every 3 cheese pizzas, there's 2 pepperoni. So we're going to draw 3 bars. Okay, and I'm going to label it with a C because those are going to represent the 3 cheese pizzas. Now, below it, it says there was 2 pepperoni. Now, I want to make them as close as I can to the same length so that the 2 from above would line up with 2 from below. And these are pepperoni. So that's our first step. Draw our tape diagram to represent our ratio. Now, we go to what other information do they give us? So it says if there was a total of 24 cheese pizzas bought. So this cheese pizza, right, that we have at the top, okay, it says those have to be 24. Now, when we take that 24, we know those 24 have to be split into these 3 pieces. So we simply take the 24 and divide it by 3 to split those pizzas in between those 3 boxes or 3 bars. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. So each one of these sections has to represent 8. Now, if those are 8, right, because this is a ratio, we know that these are going to be 8. And that helps us answer our question because the question says how many pepperoni pizzas were bought. Well, 8 times 2, right? Because there's 2 boxes down with the pepperoni that are dealing with the 8. So we have 8 times 2 is 16. So if there were 24 cheese pizzas, we know there is 16 pepperoni pizzas because we have to keep that ratio of 3 to 2. Okay, let's look at another one. A vegetable garden has 3 tomato plants for every 5 lettuce plants. So let's get our tape diagram drawn. So it says 3 tomato plants. So we're going to draw a bar with 3 sections, and I'm going to label those tomato. Now, so for every 3 tomato, there's 5 lettuce. So underneath that, I'm going to draw my bar, and you can see I'm trying to keep those sections the same size as the top. And I'm going to label these L. These are lettuce plants. Now, once I have my tape diagram drawn for the given ratio, then I see what extra information they give us. So, how many tomato plants are there if there are 45 lettuce plants? So I'm going to go to the bottom bar because that's where lettuce is. And these sections, it says, have to equal 45. So I take that 45 and I divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. 45 divided by 5 is 9. So I call these my piece size, right? All of these represent 9. Now I can answer my question. How many tomato plants are there? Well, 9 times, how many sections for tomatoes? 3. So there has to be 27 tomato plants to keep that ratio of 3 tomato to 5 lettuce. Okay, let's try another one. Use a tape diagram to solve. Sam eats 5 French fries for every 2 that Jesse eats. So we have a for every, right? It's helping us to know that we have a ratio here. So we have 5 French fries for Sam, right? For every 2 that Jesse eats. So how many does Jesse eat if Sam eats 65? I hope that's over like a year or something, right? I guess if it's just actual French fries, but I was thinking of like containers of French fries. So 65 split between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, you may not know what 65 divided by 5 is, but that's okay. You know how to figure it out. You do a division problem. Okay, 5 goes into 6 once. Subtract and get 1. Bring down a 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. So that piece size, like I talked about in the last problem, is 13. Now that I have that information, I answer my question. How many does Jesse eat? Well, Jesse, we have that 13, and there's 2 sections there, so 13 times 2 is 26. All right, let's do another one together, and then I'll give you a few that you can try. So, use a tape diagram to solve. A recipe for cake icing is 7 cups of sugar for every 2 cups of milk. So let's draw that. So it's a 7-to-2 ratio, right? And that's 7, right? I always double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, I've got 7 sections. And that is sugar for every 2 cups of milk. So, and again, you can see I'm trying to keep them the same size of sections. And this is milk. Okay, now let's see what we got. If I put 6 cups of milk, so milk equals 6. Now I figure out what one section is worth, right? The piece size. So 6 divided by, I've got 2 sections. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my piece size or section is 3. Now that I have the information, let's answer my question. How many cups of sugar will I need? Well, I've got 3 times, how many sections was this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 times 7 is 21. That is a lot of cups of sugar. Okay, let's have you try this one. So get your tape diagram drawn, figure out what information they give you, come up with your piece size, and then solve. After you have done all those steps, go ahead and press play again, and let's go over it. Okay. In July, Savannah's clothing store sold 4 short sleeve for every 1 long sleeve. So we have a ratio of 4 to 1. And the 4 is short-sleeved and the one is long-sleeve. Okay. If she sold 24 short sleeves, so short sleeve equals 24. So 24 split into 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. So these are all 6. Okay, now we go to our question. How many long sleeve shirts did she sell? Well, there's only one section and it represents 6. So she sold 6 long sleeve shirts. Okay, hopefully that's what you got. Okay, again, go ahead and pause and try this one and then press play when you're ready to go through it. Sarah has 3 horses for every 2 riders at her house. So let's get that set up. She has a ratio of 3 horses for 2 riders. If there are 8 people who ride horses at Sarah's house, so the riders, right, equal 8. How many horses does she have? Well, I take that 8 and split it in my 2 sections. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So each piece or section represents 4. Now I answer my question. How many horses does Sarah have? Well, 4 times 3, because there's 3 section ends, so she has 12 horses. Which, if we look at that ratio, right, 3 horses for every 2 riders, we would much rather have that than 2 horses for 3 riders, right? Because then someone wouldn't be able to ride. So that's a pretty good ratio to have. Okay, pause and try this one. Press play when you're ready. The high school basketball team scores 5 baskets for every 2 that the junior high team scores. So 5, and this is the high school team. For every, right, it's a 5 to 2 ratio. This is the junior high. If the high school team scores 25 baskets, so we go to the high school bar and it is 25. We take that 25 and split it between how many sections? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. So each section is worth 5. And hopefully you're starting to see, right? We do the same thing every time. It's just kind of a pattern. So how many baskets does a junior high team score? Well, junior high has 5 times 2 sections. So the junior high scores 10. Okay, go ahead and try this one and press play when you're ready to go through it. Okay, there are 6 people who want to be doctors for every 8 people who do not want to be doctors. If there are 40 people who want to be doctors, how many people do not want to be doctors? So our ratio, right, is a 6 to 8. So we get that drawn. And that's 6 people who want to be doctors and 8 people we're going to put not doctors. Okay, if there are 40 people who want to be doctors, so our doctor bar has to equal 42. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. 42 divided by 6 is 7. So our size of each section is 7. Okay, so how many people do not want to be doctors? Well, There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections. 8 times 7 is 56. So 56. Do not want to be doctor. So hopefully that's what you found. All right, go ahead and try this one and press play when you're ready. Okay, Stephen reads 2 pages for every 7 pages Susan reads. So we have a 2 to 7 ratio. And the 2 is Stephen, and the 7 is Susan. Okay, if Stephen reads 12 pages, so 12 divided into these 2 sections, 12 divided by 2 is 6. So our section size is 6. Now we can answer our question. How many pages does Susan read? Well, 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections gives us 42. So Susan reads 42 pages. Okay, again, try this one and press play when you're ready. Okay, Sally sends 5 times as many texts as James. So this one's a little different so far because it doesn't say like this for every this or this, but 5 times as many texts as James. So if it's 5 times as many, that's a 5 to 1 ratio. So we're going to have 5 sections for Sally, and we're only going to have 1 because it has to be 5 times as many for James. Okay, if Sally sent 55 texts, so 55 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives us a piece size of 11. So how many did James send? Well, nothing to multiply it by. It's just 11 because there's only 1 section. Okay. Again, try this one and then press play when you're ready. Okay, at the Valentine's Day dance, there were 5 girls for every 3 boys. So my ratio of girls, right? It says there were 5 girls for 3 boys. Okay. The principal counted 21 boys at the dance. So the boy section has to equal 21. 21 split into our 3 sections gives me a size of 7. So how many girls went to the dance? Well, 7 times by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections gets me 35 girls went to the dance. Okay, so this website is just a website that helps you just to do a little more online practice with tape diagrams. If you'd like to do that, that's optional, but it can give you a little bit more experience. So, all right, good job today, and we will see you in the next lesson.